Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at something, or should I even say a line I've been meaning to take a look at for quite some time, and you guys have asked for it again and again and again. Now this right here is the Figure-Rise Standard Ultraman line. This of course is not the first, but I think it is the most recent. And this, like it says on the top of the box right here, is from Ultraman Suit Another Universe. As usual, this video right here would not have been possible without those awesome people over at HobbyLink Japan, so if you do want an Ultraman Figure-Rise Standard of your own, link is down there in the description. So first off, jumping into the aesthetics, and when I was building this, I had a lot of thoughts. First off, I thought the metallic silver didn't really look that great because it was in an injection style metallic silver, and the yellow and red was giving me ridiculous McDonald's vibes. But when it actually came together, it gels together so well, and this is a ridiculously awesome modern take on the Ultraman design. Now, I'm not going to pretend I know the first thing about Ultraman at all, ever, not even a bit. But there is one thing I can say, this looks badass. When it comes to the overall look on this, their proportions are fantastic. Figure-Rise Standard kits tend to look ridiculously good. The detail is amazing, and when it's all built up, most of the actual model kit style aspects aren't really even all that noticeable. I have to say, I am definitely impressed. So it's usually this part in the review where I'd actually slap down the model kit beside the actual official art of what this guy is meant to look like, but the weird thing is, on Googling the name of this particular Ultraman suit right here, all that comes up is the model kit itself. I'm not sure if maybe there's not that many English-speaking fans of the show that put together a wiki or a database of, information about the particular things from the Ultraman series, but it just came up a complete blank, so I'm just going to have to really compare it to what's on the box. However, one of the first things I can definitely mention is we do get a whopping sheet of color correcting stickers in here. Now, this isn't unusual for the Figure-Rise Standard line. We've seen some Digimon on here before, and some Gundam kits as well. The Gundam kits weren't so bad, but this is a little bit on the ridiculous side. As you can see, I only use some because they're on the inside of a weapon, but just a little bit of a breakdown. Those big ones there, those big gray ones, those are meant to be on these strap or armor sections that go around the back of the legs. So that whole segment is meant to be in a dark gray color, which of course it is not. All of these little sections up here, those are what I can only describe as little armor buckles on the side of the feet. This big red one, this one's actually kind of funny. Ultraman's arse flap right here around his arse hole is actually meant to be red. Now, this is actually only an issue when you want to use the included action base, because we do have a fully color accurate arse flap for over it that has no arsehole in it, and that is for displaying Ultraman right here when he's not on an action base, so that's not too bad. Besides that though, the important areas on this are all perfect. I'm talking about the head, the chest, shoulders, pretty much nearly all of the front of this model kit. What you'll be looking at most of the time is perfect. The colors in here are actually nicer than they looked on the box. The yellow and the red is a little more muted than I thought they'd be. They're not a super killer McDonald's shade of red and yellow. The metallic injection silver isn't really all that bad. It's actually quite nice. It's got a bit of a kind of brushed aluminium look to it. Now, I will mention, when it comes to the details on this, I did actually panel line around the face and chest a little bit. This really does make that kind of aluminium color look even better. By actually giving some dark lowlights to the lines, it does make the shinier parts pop and make it look a little bit more metallic. So if you're going to do one thing with this kit, I would say panel line it. And while I'm jumping into that full 360-degree spin right here, I will mention this is the ground level when it comes to these kits. This is the ground floor. Basically, on the rest of the floors, you're meant to do a little bit of extra work yourself. The panel lining, that'd be first floor. And if you wanted this to look absolutely perfect, you're going to have to do a little bit of painting. If you want it to look ridiculously cool, battle damage, etc. So that does mean this is just what it looks like out of the box. If you want to collect it as is, this is pretty much what it will look like, and it still does look really good, but there are some color inaccuracies. Finally, when we do jump in a little bit closer to some aspects on this, we've got some very nice eyes on this. So these are in a nice actual clear yellow with a bit of a pearlescent coating. We also have a clear segment in the chest as well. Now, sadly, I did not know before grabbing one of these because I went in completely blind. You can actually get an LED unit that goes inside of the torso that will light up the eyes and the chest. Now, that would have been nice to see. All I have right here is the image on the box that says we'd get a little bit of red and blue. I'm assuming it gives the eyes a yellow hue. That would have looked really cool. I did not know that about this kit. But overall, when it does come to the aesthetics on this, absolutely gorgeous. Size comparison time, and this comes in at around 17 centimeters tall. There it is beside a high-grade Gunpla, master-grade Gunpla, perfect-grade Gunpla, a Space Marine, a Figma, and a Figurized Standard Gundam kit. So jumping into the accessories now, and here's everything that comes inside of this box with the Ultraman Zero Suit SC version. So what we get in here is the weapons, which is the wide Zero Shot, the Zero Lance, some extras including a different set of joints for inside of the torso, 4 hands in total, that is 2 pairs, and we do get a full included stand in here too. Finally, we do have some decals. Meant to talk about these before, but I'll talk about them now. But overall, a nice spread, definitely. So when it does come to the hands in here, we do have a choice. First off, these are ball joint attachment, and the ball is on the wrist, not on the hand. Attachment is pretty simple, you just pop it onto the ball, just like so. This right here is the first of the hand, so this is a widespread hand. Again, the sculpt on here is extremely nice. And the other choice that we have in here is a standard kind of holding hand fist. Now, I'm going to mention it because it just happened right there, but the knees on this, like sometimes you see in some Bandai kits, can kind of drop it just a little bit like so. These aren't C-clips. These are just regular pegs through holes, but they can be a little bit loose, but they are easy enough to tighten up if you want to. But anyway, yeah, I will mention that there is only one back for each hand, the left and the right, so it means every time you do swap them out, you do actually have to swap the back between the two. Just don't put it on backwards. So I did forget to mention these in the aesthetics part, so we do have some sticker style decals in here included for on the eyes and the bit in the middle of his forehead. Now I have used 1 or 2 of these. These are tiny. You can actually see the boundary on them, but Bandai makes kind of no attempt to hide that whatsoever in the actual instructions, but these on the whole aren't so bad. I've only used the ones on the chest just to give you a little bit of an idea of what they look like attached. So starting now with the weapons, and the first thing we have in here is the Zero Spear. This has a very beautiful, almost crystalline end on it right there. This particular design, the angles and the kind of shade of shiny blue works so nicely. That is glinty. We've got the yellow and the red and the aluminium-ish silver we've seen on the rest of the kit. This is extremely nice again. This right here is not panel lined up, but there is a lot of incredible detail on it. So if you do get some ink into those lines, it will look so much more impressive. So getting this into the hand is simple enough. It's the usual model kit way. You split the hand in half again like a sandwich. Both sides of the hands are the bread and the spear itself is the ham. You pop it in the middle, pop them back together, and there's your sandwich hands. It holds on perfectly, and getting this into poses is actually a little easier than I thought it would. I've tried out a couple here just to see how it poses up with this, to see how the wrists hold up, how it can actually hold its weapon, and this has no issues holding this up whatsoever, and can pull off some nice, somewhat dramatic poses while holding onto it. My only minor complaint is there isn't really a lot of flexion extension in the wrist for some really over-the-top thrusting and expressive poses, but the vast majority of what you'd want, you will get out of it. Now, at this point right here, it's about time to get this up in the air to get a nice pose with the spear. So included in here is an action base. So this is an action base 6, I'm going to guess, I'm not sure, but it is the brand new action base by Bandai that would have came out sometime last year. Now, I don't usually use these in my videos, and I might as well tell you why. That's because they're a little bit boingy. They kind of bounce around a little bit when you're trying to get this thing posed or anything else. Sometimes when you throw them up on a spinning base, I find it can bounce around a little bit in the footage, but that doesn't really seem to be the case here too much. This is a very lightweight model kit. Oh, and about how you attach this on, I totally went right on past that. Well, just like I mentioned before, you pop off the butt flap like so. You've got a little bit of an arsehole there. You stick the stand bit into it. This stand, I will also mention, has a regular 3mm hole, so you can put this on any action base that you want. Then you actually just stick this into it, and this holds on so much better than I actually expected to. If you're using the stand just to pop Ultraman up on your shelf, it will do that and do that absolutely perfectly. So far, so great. So the next weapon in here seems to be the main event inside of the box. This is the Wide Zero Shot. Now this is the only thing I actually use stickers on because they were those kind of cool, almost GN cannon kind of yellow and lined segments inside of the barrel. It kind of just felt incomplete without them. As for the moving parts on this, we've got a handle that moves in like so, can be stored away, can be popped out like this for when it's to be held onto, top handle up here for holding onto, and this little segment here which clips onto the back of the arm. We did have some red stickers from these little lines around these cylindrical aspects, but besides that, this is what it looks like straight out of box. There is a ton of detail on here if you wanted to get in and line that up or even use some nice touches of color, but on the whole, this is a pretty cool weapon. Attaching this big old cannon into the hands is the usual routine. Again, exactly what we saw before. Just split the hand sandwich open like so, and this time instead of ham, we're having turkey. This is the turkey. This holds on pretty good, and then you can actually clip the further back section onto the forearm like so. This is quite heavy compared to the actual Ultraman himself, so it can be a little bit awkward to get this posed, and that's probably why they included a stand. So yeah, this right here is a bit of a hefty weapon, so getting this into a pose can be a little bit on the difficult side, mainly due to the center of gravity. Moving the arms around is a lot of articulation. There's a nice rotation in the forearms to make sure you can keep this at the angle that you want it, so it looks like it's hanging naturally and being held naturally. You can have it held in the second handle by one of the holding hands. I'm just using one of the widespread ones because it's a little simpler, but you will definitely get a better hold if you use both holding hands. There's a nice pivot as well to the handle up front, so you can make sure everything is in the right angle to get it the way that you want. Overall, it's a big old weapon, but when pulled in close to the body, held in both hands, Ultraman right here has no issues whatsoever. So finally now onto the articulation. When it comes to the build strength on this, the knees can flop back every now and then, but besides that it is rock solid. I've had the torso fall apart a couple of times, but that's mainly because I thought you would get a little bit more out of it. So first off, there is an alternate joint for using inside of the torso. This is a system of joints all attached together, whereas what's actually inside of him right now are all separate. So I thought you'd get more articulation out of it. This is for using with the LED unit, which is housed in the chest of this. So I thought without that you'd get more motion, but you don't really. There it is to the back, and there is nothing to the front besides closing all of those gaps. There are some extremely model kitty looking aspects to it, which again is not a bad thing in a vacuum. That might be down to yourself whether or not you care about those sort of aspects, but besides that, build wise this is great. Nothing really falls off, which is always a super plus. So throwing it into the usual pose, and this isn't really all that bad. The only thing it really is thoroughly let down by is the lack of an ab crunch. I'm not sure why Bandai opted to not really give this anything that kind of overlaps to allow it to bend over, especially when there is no unit in there. But besides that, it's really good. The arms are great, the legs are really nice. Some joints are a little bit on the model kitty looking side, like the ankles, the way they separate, or where the hips separate out does look a little bit model kitty, but from most angles, you're not really going to notice that, and it does look really nice. It looks natural, it poses well, and on the whole, you'll get the pose that you want. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and on the whole, this is pretty fantastic. It does have a couple of issues, but it overall is great. I'm not going to tier this because I don't tier these kind of model kits because I don't really have much to base it on, but overall this is really nice. For about €25, the $27 mark, you get a whole lot of figure for a model kit price. Aesthetically, this looks so cool. I remember when I first saw this kind of redesign of Ultraman when it came out in 2012, on the cover of Heroes. It just looks so cool. It had the visual aesthetic of the time. Just a couple of years before that was 2008, where we got the MCU Iron Man and we also got Dead Space's Isaac Clarke. This heavily resembles a combination of both. And that does go for this particular line of modern Ultraman, which look awesome. When it comes to the accessories in here, they are all great. Sure, there are some stickers here and there, but not too bad. The only thing that kind of sucks in here is the stand. It's okay for just popping them onto, but it's really hard to kind of pose. It's springy, it's bouncy. I would recommend splashing out and getting a packet of good Smile Company simple stands instead. It will serve you a whole lot better. Finally then, when it does come to the overall posability, it has some model kitty kind of looking aspects in some of the joints, and the torso could ab crunch a little better, but besides that, you really do get a lot out of it, and I am heavily impressed by both the design and the overall execution of this kit. If you've been looking to get one, but you've never gotten one, you've been putting it off, I say go for it. They're cool kits. Anyways, always thank you so much for watching. I got mine through Hobby Link Japan, link in the description. And as always, I will see you next time. As always, this video right here would not have been possible without each and every single one of you guys who watches my videos, and all of these awesome people right here who help out on the channel memberships and over on Patreon, including 10 Soldier YT, Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Dashel Marmion, Go Little Rockstar, Joe, Lauren Seahack, or G95061, 10 Soldier YT again, and Van Fawn.